Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tri-State with Tiny and Katie.
Welcome to Thursday's edition of Let's Talk Tri-State with Tiny and Katie and Donnie Souders from the town of Smithsburg. We're going to do something.
That's Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mayor of
The
Smithsburg.
Honorable.
The Honorable.
Yes.
That's right.
Which
Yes.
is funny in itself, but yeah.
Right.
And it's all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors, the right choice, voted Best of the Tri-State 2024. So, Donnie, you're going to be a part of what we do every day here now for today. First, I like to go over the weather. Would you like to know what the weather's looking like
Sure,
today?
you let me know what the weather.
Sunny skies, high 42, nice and warm. Tonight, cloudy, low 29. And I'm really sorry to bring this news to everybody, but we are going to see some snow and rain tomorrow. Little snow accumulation and a high of 38. Tiny gets very worried when he hears that word snow. He doesn't like to mess around with it.
Nope. Do not like to. Are you okay driving in it?
I don't like snow at all.
Thank you, my man.
So as a kid, we loved it, right?
Right.
And even the other day when it was a little, slick out, my son was like, "Oh yeah, if it snows, the mall closes because he's got a job at the mall." And he's like, "Great, I get to stay home." And I'm like, "Yeah." Then when you become an adult, you hate it. You hate driving in it. As a basketball referee, I don't get to go officiate. I'm flying out to New Orleans next weekend.
Oh, nice.
Or this weekend.
Mhm.
So, it's one of those where it's kind of like, hey, we don't want to be delayed getting
Right.
out of town. So, yes, I hate snow. Hate it.
I was a teacher for almost 10 years, and I loved it because we still got snow days. And so even after COVID, I worked in one of the counties where they did still honor legit snow days. It wasn't like a work from home and the kids
Yeah.
still have to log on. We literally had snow days. And then when I came back to the station last year, I thought, I'm so excited. I'm happy to be back here. I love my job, but we get snow days? Is that a thing?
Like it always used to be.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know why we grew up and then snow days became a thing of the past.
And like Katie said, when I worked for the school system like her for a lot of years, right out of high school. So every snow day, we had to worry about it. Or you get out early. And so then transfer that to a time where you don't go to work when it's snowing, to come into work for the radio station doing the morning show,
snow days.
where you are the
Essential
voice that
personnel.
exactly.
Yep.
We used to call ourselves the essentials,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So then it's one or the other. I never had to drive in it, and then now all of a sudden I did, and I've never gotten over that.
I've always chuckled that we live in a region that we experience a lot. Granted, the last few years we haven't had a significant amount of the word,
Say
the S
anything.
word, right?
You'll jinx it.
It's going
I'm
to be
not going to, okay? But I can remember laughing, we would, not we, but the county would shut down schools or the region would shut down schools for the threat of snow.
Right.
We had evolved from actual accumulation to, well, we might get some
Yeah.
snow tomorrow, so we're just going to go ahead and cancel everything now,
Mhm.
We
and
had-
then it doesn't materialize.
We
Right.
had snow days because it was too windy. There were days where they would call off school because it was
Yep.
too
Too windy.
windy.
The potential of a hurricane.
Yes.
They've let students out. So, it's I swear every time I see the commercial of the insurance company about, you're turning into your parents, I'm turning into my parents every day. I'm telling the story of I lived here and had to walk 7 blocks to the bus stop to get to the elementary school.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I find it fascinating how we've evolved from, how do folks in Buffalo, they get 9 feet of snow.
And they still go
and
to
they get
school.
used to school, right?
Yeah.
They're used to it. You would think at this point in time, we've morphed where we're not the South, like Atlanta or those states down south that, they get even a smitten of any kind of
And they're-
precipitation. They're done.
They're
right?
shutting down
over.
for a
The
week.
highway shut down for a week because
Yeah.
there's a 74-car pileup, right?
It's going to get to the point where we have the bus stops are like Airbnbs. They're heated. They air conditioned in the summertime. There's a buffet food bar, continental breakfast, and orange juice to set the kids off on a good pace. I mean, I'm going to go back to school if that's the
Well,
case.
and I guess you want to be safe, so
Of
you
course.
don't want to be
Yeah.
stuck in that. And I guess COVID, if that's one of the things that came from COVID, which was now we've got the technology that we can do the online study. It is safer than. But I laugh. I remember walking, looking like the little brother in Christmas Story, wrapped up in 37 layers, walking from my house to Bester Elementary.
Like you're ready for
I
deep
go,
sea
wow.
diving.
Yeah, you're and yeah, exactly. But where we've changed to even the threat of any kind of inclement weather, it's like shut it down for a week, and we'll reassess after.
I am going to completely switch gears here because I have a quick story about this. Today is the 19th of December. It was 27 years ago on this day that Titanic was released in the United States.
Oh.
Fun fact about me and Titanic. Do you know it?
Here we go. You saw it 85 times.
I saw Titanic 11 times in the movie theater.
Okay.
11. My mom.
and every time she thought he was going to live.
Well,
I was 12 when it came out.
Is that like a proud fact?
It's just wild. And my mom kept. I mean, I don't know if I'm proud about it. It's just something
You're
interesting.
proud enough that you tell it to every person when Titanic's
My
mentioned.
mom finally was like, Katie, you're going to have to get a part-time job to pay. I was 12 to pay for these movie tickets because every day I'm like, Mom, can I go see Titanic? Can I go see Titanic? I want to go see Titanic. 11 times in the movie theater.
Let me put this into perspective for you, Donnie. Katie grew up raising ferrets.
Okay.
Yeah.
That probably
And
explains a
So
lot.
that was your big get out for the moment kind of thing, right? So so you do realize in Titanic, and this is what I joke with people all the time, you know the ending.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, like the ship sinks. Like we all know the ending.
Right.
So that movie, 2 minutes.
Plot twist, he dies,
Yeah.
and it's not going to change no matter how many times you watch it.
Let's not go into that. I think that was murder, and that those charges should still be filed.
Because two
plenty of
people
room on the
could have-
door.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
She could have let him on the door,
Yep.
and she didn't let him, and there's no statute of limitations on murder.
Wow.
So there you go.
Wow, got very in depth. I'm going to skip over everything else.
Deep like the sea.
Deep like the sea, yeah. We're really on a sinking ship at this point. What's going on in Smithsburg? Tell me about your Christmas festivities. How did everything go?
So everything went well. Our tree lighting event is very well attended.
Mm-hmm.
So it went very well. It was a windy day. We were talking about cancellations and postponements. There was a threat that it was going to be too cold, too windy.
Yeah.
That we were going to have to postpone it. But luckily it went through.
When was your tree lighting?
It was the weekend of the 6th and the 7th. So that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I know on Thursday was really, really
Buddy,
windy.
it was cold and windy,
And then we've been spoiled for a while, right? We've had mild fall in the early part of the winter, and then we got this cold front that came through and made it very windy. So there was some concern, but we foraged through and got it done. But that's completed. We had our last council meeting for the month of December. We won't meet again until the early part of January. I had the pleasure of running into Tiny at Walmart when we were doing our Shop for the Cop program. That was on December the 5th. We took 40 students or 40 kids out from elementary age schools to shop with their parents. They could spend up to $300 on gift cards provided from a very variety of different donors and contributions, so I couldn't name them all. But very, very fun, festive activity. I think, like I told you when I was here the last time we talked about it, they had to buy a hat, glove, coats, but then anything after that they could either spend on themselves or spend on family. So it's a really, it's a shame, right, that we still have, parts of the community, right, that are struggling every year. But on the flip side, it is great in this role as an elected official, or our police department, the Smithsburg Police Department, does an outstanding job of coordinating this, raising the funds, doing the Cinnamon Bun Fun Run in the spring, in the fall, to pay for a lot of the opportunity for these kids to shop. So, while we have the concern that we have so many families that are struggling, it's great to see the kids smile. They're having fun. We had a visit from Santa Claus at the fire hall preceding our shopping. We provided food. The Dixie Diner provided meals for everyone, as well as, there were so many contributions. Like I said, I couldn't name them all, but it was a really good, fun event. And then, the town is also struggling. We did lose a council member here a couple weeks ago, passed away suddenly. So we'll be forging ahead, trying to find a replacement, working through that. So this is that lull where we kind of wrap up at the end of the year. We've got a lot of vacations, a lot of holidays.
Take a second to breathe and then regroup.
Yeah, it gives a chance to breathe. So having a meeting on December the 7th and not meeting again until January 7th is kind of a nice little, everybody gets to pull back. Mm-hmm. Staff can relax a little bit, enjoy some of that PTO time that they've scheduled. And then we'll hit it hot and heavy in 2025 and start looking forward to fiscal year 26. So we'll start working on budgets and getting ready for the next fiscal year.
I found I saw this meme a while back, and it said that the last week of November is you're really trying to press on and get work done. Mm-hmm. The first 2 weeks of December, you're kind of half and half. Third week of December through the end of the year, you're pretending or it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As far as work goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens in the summer as well, right? There's periods of times where how many times have we counted? Oh, it's a 3-day weekend, or we got a long extended weekend, or it's only a short week. So, But this time of the year, it's a sludge. Anyone that's ever worked in municipal government, either local or federal or state, there's so much that you try to cram before you get to the month of December, the mid part of December, just because PTO schedules change. I mean, our office hours are going to be affected because Christmas is in the middle of a week.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, not to mention this isn't yours or their full-time job.
No. Well, for the staff it is.
Right,
But
yes.
for the elected body and a lot of our volunteers, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Does Smithsburg do any kind of drop for New Year's? Did
No,
I
we
ask you
do
this
not.
last time?
You did. We have talked about it, and we may in the future. So Hadley Farms is our largest employer in Smithsburg, and they're one of the largest contributors or donation sources for our Cinnamon Fun Run. So we always in the race in the back of their parking lot. They give everyone a cinnamon roll, so it kind of ties in. We've actually talked about maybe doing some sort of
A cinnamon roll
bun.
drop.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So we'll play around with that and see. I
Mhm.
know, but Hagerstown has the Crumpy's Donut drop. There's all kinds of drops in the community.
Chambersburg has
So it's
the-
like, do you compete or do you just kind of
Yeah.
see what you can do?
Right. Yeah.
What's going to be the first big event in 2025 for Smithsburg?
Well, the first big event, that's a good question. So I know we're continuing our Economic Development Commission will meet coming up here soon to discuss our 2025 schedule for our third Newburgh events. If that goes through, we'll continue to do those events, and that'll be May of 2025. Before that, we'll have like a children's Valentine's Day party.
Oh, that's
Our
fun.
Smithsburg Community Activities Commission does that, where they do kind of like a daughter-father
Mhm,
dance thing,
mhm.
but it's more geared for the younger kids. So that'll be on the
That's
second
so
floor
cute.
of Town Hall. They're the same committee that puts on the Christmas party that they just had on the 7th.
That's right,
So
yep.
They like to do these little small things. So that's really kind of where we're at. We're kind of in a lull until it gets nice, like probably a lot of areas. There won't be anything
Yep.
major. We'll have an Easter egg hunt at some point in time. It won't be the town, but the Smithsburg Lions Club puts that on. That's usually a very nice, well-attended event. So we're just
Because
like
people
every
are
other
trying to
year.
get out. First
Exactly,
time, it's spring,
so they're trying to get out, and hopefully we've got a quick, snowless winter. I know.
I disagree. I mean, I'm all about it. I really enjoy.
So I heard a volunteer.
Go ahead,
that will
Donnie.
come- I heard a volunteer.
I'm
that
all
will
about
come
it.
Shovel any driveway, any sidewalk that you need.
Yep. And she, believe me, she's used to shoveling it.
There you go.
I mean, it is just me. So I love snow. I know like you guys are not a big fan, but I think there's something so magical about sitting inside with a nice glass of wine.
I agree.
Maybe mulled wine,
Yes.
watching some kind of Hallmark movie or horror movie because I'm a big fan, and then just like watching it fall. It's very nice.
See, now I can go completely opposite, where I'm on a sandy beach looking out at crystal clear blue water, sun, and a cocktail in my hand.
I agree.
There you go.
You
So,
do?
Yes.
Yes.
You
That's-
do agree?
Yes.
On a sunny beach, absolutely.
Huh.
Just
Now-
head on down to Ocean City and be done with it.
There it
You
is.
know, you could probably put two together, right? You could go to Ocean City in the winter, get a little bit of snow, but then still
Been there, done that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it'd be a little more gray. I'm thinking a little more tropical.
Yeah, an airplane perhaps.
Steel drum in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
exactly.
Oh my gosh, doesn't that sound nice?
One of these years, that's going to happen for Christmas. I'm
You see-
going to be away.
But to Katie's point, the reason I said I agree with what she described, sure, I think it is beautiful when you get to sit inside and watch it and don't have to drive in it.
Yeah.
That's when it's perfectly
I
fine
can-
with me.
I can shake a snow globe and see the same effect.
Well, that's true. Fair enough. I like the way he thinks.
Yeah.
Like the Santa Claus. You want to see the snow? Here you go.
There you go.
Have at it.
Exactly.
Oh, you guys have no sense of adventure.
Are you going over what today is, like the national?
I was going to.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, it is National Hard Candy Day. And just a fun fact here. In 1947, the first candy making machine was invented by a pharmacist to crank out throat lozenges.
Okay, yeah.
So that was in 47. And so I was talking this morning on our sister station about favorite hard candy. And mine is that strawberry thing that
With
we
the
don't
gel.
what we don't know the name of
Yeah.
it. People call it bonbons, strawberry bonbons.
And it is technically a bonbon.
But it's not though, because if you Google, see, I have like an issue with this. If you Google bonbon, it says candy, yes, and then it says most likely covered in chocolate. Those candies are not covered in chocolate, and I just don't know if that's really a bonbon.
I think it is because I think when I read, because we talked about this a while back, is I think that it's, yes, it is just the function of a bonbon is something wrapped in a confection, right? But then it says typically it's in chocolate. So this would be an atypical bonbon, I think, for these strawberry things. No matter what, we can agree that they're good.
Yes, and you know what? I feel like I've gotten into so many arguments with people about it. I don't want to do it anymore.
But now,
Not
I don't know
worth it.
about you, Donnie, but when Katie was asking me about this a few weeks ago, when she said, people are saying it's a bonbon. Do you remember bonbons, the ice cream?
I do.
When we were
Yes.
kids?
Yep.
The little container of them? That's all I remember bonbons being.
And that's why when you said that, going back years when Candy Express was at the Valley Mall, I was an
Mhm.
assistant manager there.
Okay.
So I've had a little experience. I don't think they would qualify as a bonbon.
Thank you.
Because it was typically either a chocolate
Yep.
or the frozen variety.
Yep.
Mhm.
But I do. You're talking about the ones that are in the strawberry wrapper.
Yeah, that
The
everybody's-
strawberries. Yeah.
Everybody's grandmother had a whole
Everyone-
bowl of
yeah.
them. Absolutely.
I
That's-
think we just call them strawberry candy.
yeah, or just grandma's candy bowl treat.
Sure.
Because
okay.
every grandparent had a bowl of them, right?
Speaking of that, you know what my favorite hard candy is?
Werther's original.
No.
Root beer. Ew, those nasty
You're getting
root beer
you're getting
things.
close, but no. Whorehounds.
Who?
What?
Whorehounds.
Whorehound.
Have you ever had them or heard of them?
You know, I'll have to Google that one. I do not
Are
remember
you saying
that
that?
candy.
Are you saying that correctly?
Yes, Horehounds. Whorehounds.
Okay.
Hmm.
Just in case we get pulled off the air, we want to make
Yeah,
sure
I
we
just,
verify that
Right.
it's
I'm not
valid or
repeating it.
Katie
but-
just thought some loose dogs were going to run through
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Hey, ladies,
Feral dogs or cats running around. Yeah. So,
watch out for those whorehounds.
All right, Donnie, what's your favorite hard candy? Oh my goodness.
oh Lord. Let's see. I was thinking about that when you asked the question. I do remember growing up around my grandparents' house. They'd always have peanut brittle.
Mhm.
Okay.
Now it's kind of one of those you either love it or you hate it
Yeah.
kind of thing. But they always had it. It was always something they would buy from the kid that during the year was selling some sort of candy.
Mhm. I like
so
that.
would probably be, as far as a holiday hard candy,
Okay.
that's where we would go.
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
I also always liked fireballs. I
Ooh,
love
yeah.
cinnamon.
Yeah, they're not bad. I mean,
I was always afraid I was going to choke on them when I would eat them as a kid.
well, that's just because that's what your parents told you.
But I was really like
Yeah.
I really had a fear that I was going to have one in my mouth and I was going to choke on it. So I never ate them.
You're just supposed to whorehounds.
Just
You don't have to worry about it.
Stop it with the horse.
Katie wanted cinnamon. She got those. Remember those little like cinnamon beads? There, I think they were
Yeah,
hearts
they were hearts,
around
yeah,
Valentine's
they were
Day.
hearts,
Yeah, the cinnamon nerds is what I would call them.
Cinnamon
Yeah,
nerds,
Yeah.
I can't
so-
choke on those. I would be
No,
good to
you
go.
can't choke on those. But yeah, it's
Whorehound.
that's another nostalgic thing, and that's what's
Oh my
great about
goodness.
going to like a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
You shop that wall that's got all the nostalgia
They have whorehounds.
candy. Well, the next time I'm at one, I'm definitely gonna.
Why do
look.
you keep saying stop it? They're called
And
whorehounds.
if
I
I
just-
find a box, I will bring you a box so
Please.
you can have.
Thank you.
That'll be the Christmas New Year gift.
Yeah, it's like the old-fashioned of old-fashioned hard candies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll definitely look for that.
Yeah, bring that in because I don't really believe that's a real thing. I feel like you're making that up, but
Okay.
we need evidence and proof.
But I see that this is oatmeal muffin day as well.
It's also National Oatmeal Muffin Day, and the most popular muffin in America. Any guesses?
Blueberry.
Blueberry. Yes, you are correct. And another FAQ about oatmeal muffins. What is the healthiest muffin to eat? You guys ready for this?
Bran.
Whole wheat carrot cake muffins and apricot date muffins are some of the healthiest to eat. How
Where-
often do you guys sit down and eat those?
How often have I ever
I've
seen
never
them?
had one of those two.
Right.
I'll do like a banana nut,
Sure.
like a banana nut, blueberry.
The apricot date of the two.
Well, you don't like carrot cake.
I don't, but sounds the most appetizing. But should we share with Donnie the funny story about the muffin that was in here years ago when you wanted to split it with me?
I don't remember the story, but go on.
Okay, here we go.
There was a young lady who was working part-time here, and she would come in, and she was filling in for someone who was coming in after us for the midday shift.
Okay.
Okay, so we're doing mornings. We usually we didn't eat during the morning show.
Rachel.
Yes.
Okay.
And she came in with the biggest, most beautiful looking muffins you'd ever want to see in your life. Had that really nice crystal sugar on top
Sugar
of it.
top, yeah.
Buddy, it was spot on. And Katie is just fawning over this muffin.
I remember.
So the next day, she brought us one. And Katie goes, or bought Katie one, I'm sorry, because Katie was making a delivery. Katie goes, Tiny, why don't you want to split it with me? Everything we would ever eat that was unhealthy, Katie wanted to split it, right?
I felt better about it.
Made her feel better
Show the
that she was
calories.
Right.
It's better.
sabotaging me. Sure, why not?
Mhm.
So I said, all right. And I said, I'll split it with you. So I just took this beautiful top,
Oh, there you
And they gave
go.
me the bottom.
handed her the bottom.
So you did the whole Seinfeld episode.
Is that what that was?
There's an episode of where Elaine wants to do just the tops of the muffins.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all that anybody wants. to
Right.
Yeah.
eat, So
And now, mind you, the muffin was brought in for me. It was not brought in for Tiny.
Right.
And he took the top and gave me the bottom. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. But now, mind you, I didn't want it, and she's trying to force it on me because, like I said, you have to have half.
Yeah. Well, you took half.
I did, yes. I just
No.
took the better
It
half.
wasn't a clarification of what half. Slice it down the middle, slice
Yes.
it across the top.
She learned at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I don't know. I'm not on either of your sides, but that's fine.
But it is amazing how you said a moment ago, nobody wants the top or nobody
The
wants the
bottom.
bottom, and it's all the same. But there is a textural difference.
Yeah, of
and
course.
The crunchies
It's
on the
the
top.
crunchies, and I guess there's like an
It
air
meets-
because
it meets the
will-
heat.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Crystallizes, caramelizes. Yeah, it's
but
better.
there's an entire Seinfeld episode on just that, and they try to give the bottoms to like the homeless shelter, and the homeless shelter goes,
They don't
nobody
even wanna-
eats the bottoms. So it's funny that you said that. So,
very
yeah.
Give us whorehounds instead. No one eats the bottoms of these.
Well, we've really covered some ground this morning. I'm going to stop us here, if you guys are all right, and we're going to we're going to take a look at the good word of the day.
Hello, this is Pastor John Starr from Good Ground Church in St. Thomas. I want to take a few minutes to share with you a little bit of God's Word. There's a well-known story in the Bible about Jesus where he feeds 5,000 people, not including the women and the children, with a little boy's Lunchable. It's 5 loaves and 2 fish. And we rightly tend to focus on the miracle that Jesus performed, but I also today want to focus on the little boy's story. Jesus' disciples, they identify this boy and they say this in John 6:9. There's a boy who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many? What are they among so many? I've found myself asking that of myself time and time again. What are the things that I can do among so many needs? In other words, what value can I possibly be to what you want to do, God? What are the few things that I have to offer among so much and so great of a task that needs done? And what I realize is that this story is about the miraculous, but it's also about the practical. It's about what we can take to Jesus and surrender to him in order that others might be blessed. Maybe you're listening and saying, what can Jesus possibly do through me? How could he possibly ever use who I am and what I have to offer? What am I among so many things that need to be done? My friend, can I tell you that when you bring everything you have to Jesus, he will do an incredible work through you and in you. And whenever you look at your hands, you may only see your hands, but when you give yourself to him, it's not just your hands at work, but his hands at work through you.
Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tri-State with Tiny and Katie.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tri-State, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors, winner in the 2024 Best of the Tri-State, The Right Choice. And our next guest, who we just love and adore, we have Bill Green, who is the mayor of Williamsport. And you guys have one more weekend left for the celebration of trees.
We're on our last weekend, this Saturday, Sunday.
If someone is not, I know we've talked about this a few times, but walk me through again, or anybody who's new to Let's Talk Tri-State, what is the celebration of the trees?
Okay, so it started a long time ago, and we took nonprofits, business owners, and families that wanted to do memorial decorations. And we provided trees, and then they would come in and decorate them. We've now expanded it to, I think this year's 167 trees. So it's really been nice, and it is just a way to showcase that particular business or that nonprofit, and a way for a family to give like a memorial tree, for a lost family member. So it's been really nice. And if you haven't seen it yet, it is definitely a must-see kind of thing. It really
And
is.
it's a free event.
It is a free event.
And where is it?
It's at Springfield Barn in Williamsport, so on Springfield Lane.
Is there any kind of competition amongst the trees? Can people vote on their favorite? Or
No, we don't do that. We just accept donations for people that come in. We hear which ones they like. There's so many trees, and I told somebody, so upstairs you're looking at about 167. Downstairs is another 20 where Santa sets. So picking like your favorite tree is always the difficult part.
Probably impossible with that many.
I don't know where some people get their ideas on how to do the trees.
Tell me one that sticks out to you that you thought, wow, that's really creative or unique.
Like the memorial trees. Every one of them is done, but there's a particular one for a young boy in Clear Spring. And just the way that it's done this year with places to visit and things all over it is just, it stood out. It gets a lot of attention, with that tree. There's another memorial tree for a chef, and just the way they do it every year with the cooking utensils and everything else in it is just like, how do you think of that? And then of course, I have my all-time favorites, the river rat tree for Williamsport, because it's got a bunch of rats and cheese on it. And, and I like the Marvel trees when people add it, and the Grinch trees over the years. They're all, every one of them, just if you look at the tree and look at the nonprofit or the family that's doing it and you see how they put it together, it's just beautiful.
It's really unbelievable how people come up with these ideas. And then when did they start decorating the trees? How long ago did that
We brought the trees in on November 4th, and then we opened up to be decorated, but you only had till like right before Thanksgiving to get them decorated. And we had to this year do it a Monday through Friday, and it was from like 8 to 4. And it was just because of volunteer help. We just couldn't get everybody on the same page. And then the week of Thanksgiving, I actually go in with my son and we run all the electrical lines and get everything plugged in.
Just you and your son for all of those trees?
Yes.
Oh, are you good at
we roll around on the floor a lot, and we have a lot of, we have like opinions we share, remember when you decorate a tree, try to keep your plugs all here in one nice spot. We had a few that we took pictures of a tree, because we had to disassemble it and put it back on because of the way the lights were, and then try to put it all back to the way it was, and it was like, whew.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
not
fun.
An easy task
it's not.
to do at all. And I can imagine that if I were going to volunteer and help for that event, that would be where I would tap out. Like, Bill, I'll do anything except run electricity.
Yeah, because you're literally rolling on the floor from one tree, roll to the next, and then him, and then I get a kick out of it because he's helped me for a lot of years straight. All my boys have, but he climbs the rafters to hang things up in the rafters too. So we got elves we hide up there, and we have balls to put on it. So I have a lot of pictures of him up there doing the, am I insured for this? And I do the no, don't fall.
I got to tell you now, Bill, I haven't, shame on me, I haven't gone yet. I had one night I was going to bring my nieces down and we were going to go, but it was like 12 degrees out and we just didn't feel like leaving the house. It was really cold, but I really wanted to bring them down. But I've seen the pictures and I've seen it on Facebook. Some people that I'm friends with have gone, it is immaculate.
It's beautiful.
It is really, it's very impressive.
It is. If you're not in the Christmas spirit, it'll definitely help you get there. It's just beautiful. And we're in there on those 12-degree nights. And it's probably 10 degrees in there. It's
sure.
Yeah, and on the weekends, like this weekend, we're open, I think 3 to 9. Santa will be there 6 to 8, both Saturday and possibly Sunday.
Okay.
And we give hot chocolate and a reindeer mix on the weekends to people, so come in and grab it. The only charge is really there's no charge. It is just donation. It just helps us do it. A lot of people wonder where the money goes, and we tell them, it goes right back into the event. Like, believe it or not,
bill's not fun
it's not cheap, but Williamsport keeps doing these things, and we were just talking about it the other day. A person up there had asked, well, did we think about charging to come into it? And it's like, it was set and done this way, and it's the same way we do our lights in the park. We just ask for a donation. If you charged people, you might not get as many families, to such an event. And it's really nice seeing all the kids come in. One time I knew the Santa Claus personally, so I got to watch it happen. And the kids that just run up to Santa Claus down there. And it's like, yeah, this is nice.
Yeah. And you never know, the community is going to support that. So if you charge $5 and everybody gave $5, fine. But maybe people are donating $20, $50, $100 because they're so
We do. We get a lot. I carry on with a lot of people that come in there because a lot of times I'm doing the hot chocolate and reindeer feed. And they're like, 2 hot chocolates. I'm like, okay. And then they're like, how much? I'm like, $28.50. It was one couple, and they're like, we only have a 20, and I was like, kidding, it's free. Why would you pay $28 for chocolate? We're laughing.
It would be the best hot chocolate I've ever had.
They went ahead and they put it in the donation. They're like, we really appreciate everything you all do here. And it's like,
it really is
thanks.
incredible that the event is A, as big as it is, and B, that it is free, because you just can't find those magical Christmas events like that are
no, and it really is. And you can walk through the park and then come up and walk through there. Sunday night was really nice. It snowed a little bit more than expected. So I was expecting to be bombarded because to me, snow and the lights is Christmas. And we were really slow. So I had a chance to go around and I went through the park to see the lights. And I got to do my snow pictures with the lights, that's the time I like to see it.
That's when
it
you
makes
look
it Christmas.
and you think, man, I love my job. I love where I live.
Yeah, there are the times where you do. Now that's the good thing about being mayor.
Yep.
You know, this is a good thing.
Absolutely.
You know, and all the headaches get pushed away for a while, and kids smiling. We had a few families this past weekend, Sunday. A gentleman rode 45 minutes with his daughter, and he was really hoping Santa'd be there. So we had to call Santa in early, you know, so that he could do it. But then Santa left early. So some people came back and it's like, well, you know, he's 2 hours at a time. You know, but made that kid happy, but upset this one.
You really made somebody very happy.
Yeah, so it makes it worth it on those days.
And the celebration of trees, is it only open on the weekend or is it open during the week as well?
It was this past week. It's now closed.
Okay.
And this is our literally the last weekend. We added this weekend. Normally, it would already be over. We only do like 6-7 days. It's so hard with the hours. They're all over. And to find people, like Thursday afternoon, we were open for a lot of the elderly and seniors to come on those days, Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's why we're open in the afternoon. It was 33 degrees, I think, Thursday all day with heavy wind. So we're in there shivering for 8 and 9 hours. And a lot of people, because at 9 o'clock, like Saturday, Sunday, if you come, it's closed at 9.
Right.
You know, there's
There
no
is
9, 5, 9:01. It is 9, lights are going on, and those kids are they've had 6 hours of shivering. They're done. And I get a few people this past weekend were like, well, I got 10 minutes. I'm like, you're not going to see every tree, but you're more than welcome. But at 9, yeah, we're done.
Yeah,
you know?
your mayor fist down
Yeah, because it's like it was snowing. We were wet. It was cold.
People are there all day volunteering their time.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Here's a random question. What do you do with the trees after?
Okay, so they come in, like this year it'll be, I think January 4th or 5th is when it starts. So they'll have like an entire week and a weekend, and we'll probably extend a couple days, take them down. And then when the trees are undecorated, I'll go in probably Monday this week and get all the cords cleaned up. All that'll be out of the way. After Christmas, after New Year's, they come in, they undo the trees, and then Mr. Bowman and the Bowman family, they bring in the trailers, and we will load the trees onto the trailers, and away they go.
And then you take a little reprieve and then gear up again for next year.
Right.
Now, you have a polar plunge.
Yes.
Is your polar plunge on New Year's Day?
It is on New Year's Day.
Okay.
The festivities begin at 10 a.m., and the plunge is directly at noon. It is fun. It started way back in the 90s, and it's had its share of problems and issues. This year, I'm hoping the attendance grows with it. You know, every year we have some people that have been doing it for 20 years straight. We have people that, one of them actually has the tattoo of the polar bear, from our event on them.
Wow.
So we got our regulars that come every year, and it is fun. It's a nice bonfire.
Where does the fundraise? What does the money go towards? Does it go to the
This
town?
this year the money gets donated. The money raised after everything's paid goes to Washington County Fire Police.
Oh, okay. Okay, very nice.
So it'll be given to them to help with their needs and what they have.
I'm assuming you're going into the Potomac River.
Yes.
Right there.
Yeah, right there.
Okay. Do you ever have an issue with like it's frozen and you have to?
There's been times over the years where we've had to cut the ice.
Yeah.
We've had to use a backhoe and break the ice. Yeah. Hope not this year, but I'm not going in this year. I went in previous years.
I was gonna ask you, are you gonna
Not
be
this year.
leaving
I'm
the
not.
track there?
No, we'd gone in before, and during COVID there was none. So we did if people showed up, there was a bunch of us that went in on that day unofficially. And I've had my cold moments, my slip, my fall moments. My son, he goes in every year. He loves it. The year before last, him and one of our former employees and everybody sat out in the water for like an extra to see who could make it the longest. Where it was like, I had to make them get out because there's a point of like after 20 minutes where hypothermia kicks in.
Of course, yes.
So we make them get out and they're just red from like where the water was down. And it's like, what is it? And they love it. They said it's a refreshing, a great way to kick off your new year.
Well, a lot of people are doing this voluntarily. These,
Yes.
tubs of cold water and sitting in it. I mean, it does have some health benefits, but after 5 minutes, for me, after 30 seconds, it's done. So it starts at noon. You plunge in, you plunge out. Are there heated tents or anything on the?
We did switch off to like little tent changeables the past 2 years, I think. But no, we're back to our sea containers with the heat in it.
Okay.
It was just, that's a little bit better. It's a little bit better of a way to warm up, and trial and error. People suggest, okay, we'll try this. Was not accepted very well. Okay, so we're not doing that part no more. But that's the only way you fill it out is to listen to what people say.
I did it one time. I plunged one time, and it was last year, and it was for our sister station. And I was asked recently, do you want to do it again? Nope. I will
Yeah.
go. I will fundraise. I will do whatever I can. I support 100%. But it took me like 2 days to get back to normal. I mean, I just like woke up shivering. Now, I'm also a little dramatic, but
No,
it took me a while to recover from that.
it seems about right. Back in the 90s, I did it a few times with groups. And, yeah, it was a little easier. That was almost 30 years ago.
Right,
Now it's like, whoa.
much.
We do have one of our councilmen, I believe, Jim Broswell. He's there every year, and he jumps in it, and it's great to see him. He gets there with his daughters and their husbands, and they make it a family event to run and jump in. So that's really nice to see that we do have some council people that still, and then just about, and I want to say everybody on council goes down to watch.
Yeah, that's more my speed there.
Yeah,
Now, if somebody wanted to sign up and support, where would they do that?
They can do that right now at Town Hall. You can come in, fill out the papers, sign up, do it. Bring your teams, bring your friends, bring your family. Get all of them in it. And then day of, we do a lot of registering the day of.
And it's
So-
New Year's Day activities start at 10. The plunge is at noon.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, as always, thank you so much.
Well,
for being
thanks for having me again.
And
It's
talking
great.
so much about celebration of trees, and encourage everybody to get out there for the final weekend. It really is.
Really got to see it this weekend.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it before, this is the one to do it.
Well, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back to Let's Talk Tri-State.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com. Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tri-State with Tiny and Katie.
Let's talk Tri-State.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tri-State, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice winner in the 2024 Best of the Tri-State Awards. Now, here we have Frank Fowler with us, and Frank is the owner of Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto on Route 16 in Waynesboro, and maybe we get Buchanan Tire and Auto as Best of the Tri-State 2025.
Hopefully.
That'd be the goal, yeah?
That's the plan.
Well, welcome to Let's Talk Tri-State, Frank, first
Yeah.
of all. You are the semi-recent owner of
Correct.
Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto.
Yep.
So what I always like to do with our guests on Let's Talk Tri-State is take us back through your history. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into your area of expertise?
Yeah, so I actually grew up right down the road from the shop, maybe a mile or so. I drove past it every day, going to school, going to work. And my stepdad, I guess it starts with him. He's worked on cars forever. I've always been around him. My dad, mom, stuff, everyone's into him. They've been around him. But he's been a mechanic in the area forever. And he's always known Danny, who was the previous owner. And so that kind of, jumping into how I got in there, that's kind of how I got familiarized with Danny and with that shop specifically. But started working on cars in the garage with, my stepdad way back when as soon as I could walk, I pretty much had a wrench in my hand. So I was always familiar with it. Got my first job at a little shop out in, near Mont Alto. And then right up the road from the shop was my other job, all at a shop. And then eventually I went to career tech through high school. And that was great experience. I started wanting to go to, college to be, I didn't know. But eventually I finally made my mind up to do the career tech thing. I went for the auto tech program. Did that and went co-op through Buchanan Auto Park out in Waynesboro, the other side, the Chrysler dealer. And did that for almost 2, 3, I think it was almost 3 years, a little over 2 years. And that was great. And eventually I just realized I wanted my own thing going on. I always did since I was a kid, And I heard about Danny and the situation where he was wanting to get out, but it was, great florist business and just kind of keep it going. And luckily worked out, got in there, and we've been doing it ever since.
There you go. Well, you got to love it when you can take over an already good business, an established business, and just keep that reputation going.
Yeah.
Danny has been. I only know Danny, the previous owner, by way of my father-in-law, who Danny's the only one who ever did his tires. Only one he'd ever let do his tires.
Yep.
So, and that's a guy who takes great pride in his vehicles. So that speaks volumes to Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto. Now, I understand tires in the name, but auto's in the name. So before we break into tires, which is the bread and butter,
Right.
okay, what else is offered as far as the auto goes?
Yeah, so we try and do just about everything we can. We don't get into heavily, internal engine work or heavy electrical diagnostic repair, but brakes, suspension, alignments, state inspections, pretty much anything bolt-on parts that you might need for your car. We deal with Fisher's, AutoZone, Napa, all the big guys for auto parts, tune-ups, things like that. We're not fully selling vehicles yet. I do every once in a while have one there for sale. We don't offer notary service or anything, but we do just about anything you need with your vehicle. And if we can't personally do it, we'll point you in the right direction that can.
And that's always important. I don't think people realize enough that when a reliable mechanic refers you to they're not going to refer you to somebody who's not going to take care of you.
Definitely.
And they know is going to do a good job.
Right.
And that's really important because you're one of those mechanics, you're one of those business owners when it deals with vehicles that knows the importance and the safety of riding all four tires on the road safely.
Oh, yeah.
And it all starts there from the ground up. So it's good to know that someone such as yourself is in a position to own a business where something so important, no more precious cargo than yourself, your children, your family members.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So let's go now to the transition to the tire part of everything.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, this is the bread and butter of Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto. Has been for years. By the way, I should have had you take a picture so we could include that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm going to say, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
What am I going to say?
The snowman and Christmas tree, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All the holiday
Yeah.
decorations that you have, that's great.
That was a big team effort there. Someone sent me it a year ago, like the idea, and it was right as soon as I bought it, so I didn't really have time to make it work. And then this year we did the parade, which was neat, and we had that as like on our trailers or a little thing, and I just stuck it in front of the shop, so it's cool. Yeah, thank you.
So it's easy to know where the shop is for Frank and Buchanan Trail Tire and all because they have it's a snowman, Santa, and
there's a snowman and a Christmas tree.
Yep.
And then I've got like candy canes that kind of Santa colored and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
Yep.
Very good. I noticed the snowman and the Christmas tree.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're in a season now where I think anyone who was not otherwise thinking about tires is probably thinking about tires. We're getting we're coming into the months where we get the ice and the snow.
Yep.
Now, I absolutely hate driving in adverse conditions such as the snow and freezing rain and sleet.
Right.
I don't know anyone who actually enjoys it, but
Yeah.
it's to the point where with me I don't want to say anxiety, but I get the pit in my stomach. I'm not worried about me.
Right.
I'm not worried about hurting myself.
Yeah.
I'm worried about hurting someone else, ruining their property.
Right.
And obviously, if I have anyone with me, like my daughter, of course, same thing.
Oh yeah.
But the question that I have for you is that does tire, and before I ask this, let me preface by saying this. I'm asking, the questions that I ask on Let's Talk Tri-State, they may seem so obvious. They may seem really easy. But I'm asking for the benefit of everyone watching.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because there may be some people who believe this.
Right.
How much does tire matter when it comes to ice and snow?
A lot. I mean, that's almost all of it. Almost all. Obviously, there's some other factors, but really, at the end of the day, that's what's connecting you, everything in your car. Like you said, your family, the vehicle itself to the road. Which is where you want to have your traction. If you don't have good tires on there, you're gonna nail it quick.
Right.
And you don't realize sometimes how much you need them, like you were saying, until times like this time of year. They might be fine in the summer when it's dry, smooth asphalt, and even a little rain. But you get anything on that road surface, and if they're not where they should be, you'll notice. And
I also, our area, we get snow, and sometimes we get a lot of it.
Right.
But we don't get enough to chain the tires.
Right.
So,
correct.
Which offers you a great deal of traction, but that's more for, out west near the mountains, and, you see truckers always, chaining their tires because it's everyday conditions really in some of those areas. So we don't go that far around here usually.
Right.
So what can we do to make sure that our tires are well equipped, or at least as equipped as they should need to be to get us safely through the winter? What are some signs that we're looking for?
So the great thing is that almost any tire nowadays for most vehicles is going to be a standard all-season tire. That's what you hear, all-season radial. Mm-hmm. It didn't used to be that way. Back in the day, there wasn't quite that. They had bias ply tires. They had straight, summer per se tires, and then they had the winter tread, and it was more separated. Now, if you have a summer tire, it's going to be kind of hard, not hard to find, but it's not going to jump out at you. Like nowadays, anything that you see tire-wise is going to be a standard all-season, which means they're rated for the summer, or they're rated for light snow, rain, which is great. As so far of looking for like what to look out for with your tires, obviously you're going to notice traction, braking. You got to keep following distance in any weather. But if you notice anything starting to slip, you go to pull out, your tires spin, something along that line. You go around a turn, you feel funny. Low air pressure sometimes normally doesn't mean tire tread per se, but it can depending on how bad it is. The great thing is, like I was saying, with so many tires being capable, it's not so hard to get. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get a good tire,
Right.
really. And they also they're coming out with a lot. Most brands are coming out with new styles of tire where they're like hybrids, so they're an all season, but they've got the 3-peak snow rating, so that they're qualified almost like a snow tire. They don't have that soft compound where they wear out quick like snow tires do, but they still perform better than a standard all season if you are concerned about heavier snowfall or just wanting the premium, in the sense of the weather. So yeah, there's a lot of great options out there.
I know when we think of winter, we primarily focus on performance in the snow. Now, am I correct in what I've heard when it comes to ice? It's just kind of,
Ice is tough.
Yeah, ice is tough.
It is. Now, we do still stud tires, studdable snow tires. That's something that is also kind of old school. It's kind of fallen off, but it's still very, very relevant in the sense of wanting to perform best on ice, especially if you're going to be running into ice. Now I know there's legalities around certain months, of the year, but any time it's cold like this, there's a chance of snow. I don't think you'd ever have an issue. But they are studded, so they're loud, they make noise, but they're not horrible, and they do great in the ice. Now there's also regular snow tires that are ice rated, some a little better than others, but at the end of the day, ice is ice, and it's tough. But yeah, studs are great if you can, and if you're really worried about it, we do it. It's a service we offer. We don't do it a whole lot, just because snow tires, themselves are so good, as well as the standard all seasons perform for most of what people need.
And when you say, I know what you mean by stud tires, but are you suggesting, are you saying that you take, is it a tire that already has studs on it, or do you stud a tire?
Normally, you stud a tire. You can get them pre-studded. Okay. Very few brands do it, but you can. Most offer they've already got the holes in them, and then we've got the machine that'll implant pretty much the metal studs in. Okay. To just barely stick out enough that will grab the ice and not really tear up the asphalt itself. But that is the concern, is why you can only run them, because they say they can harm the roads. Right. But they wear along down with the tire just like normal, but it's still enough to poke through to grab the ice. It's a pretty neat little process, but most people don't need it. But if you do and you're concerned about it, it is a service we offer.
And on the average car tire, I find this fascinating, how many studs does it usually?
There's a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, we haven't done them really since last year, but how they have the tread blocks, yeah. So there's almost one or two, or maybe even three per tread block. I mean, heck, there's probably at least 100. I'd like to think, in a tire around there.
Great.
And there's all different sizes. Cars, trucks. That's the other thing. You can get just about anything now you want. You can get an aggressive tire on a small car normally. So it all depends.
We're talking with Frank Fowler. He is with Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto, Route 16 in Waynesboro. He's the owner, actually. Let's talk about tire pressure for a second, if we could, Frank.
Yeah.
So this is the time of year where we often will find ourselves when we get in those really cold temperatures. And you've probably noticed this, as you've gone the past few weeks. I know we had that cold snap a couple weeks ago where it was down in the teens, especially in the overnights. You get in your car, and most cars nowadays have the tire pressure sensors, and they let you know what's going on there. But we get those warnings that say tire pressure's low.
Yeah.
Typically what happens is, as you progress throughout the day, it warms up and they return back to normal. How urgent is it to correct that? When should we say, you know what, okay, this needs addressed?
Right. So ideally, your tires should always be where they need to be, but these times of year make it hard. Most vehicles run around 35 pounds of air. Passenger cars, light trucks, you get into the heavier stuff, they want a little more. But most vehicles want right around 35, anywhere from 30 to 40, but they do tend to drop 2, 3, 4. Once you get around to 5 pounds low, that's normally when the lights tend to go off. It varies by manufacturer, but as soon as that light comes on, if you go that day, check them, make sure. Sometimes they tell you, like you said, they'll tell you the exact amount. And if it's just a couple pounds low, you're okay. It's not. You don't need to stop everything and go get air. Ideally, yes, but you don't need to. Now, once you start dropping below 5 pounds, you're into the 20s, you're into, even if you're into teens especially, that's going to affect the wear of the tire. That's why air pressure is so important. Mm-hmm. Obviously, ride, quality, handling, but also the wear of the tire. If you run them too low, they're going to wear differently than if you need them where they're supposed to be, or if you run them too high, they're going to wear the centers out of the tire versus the edges being low.
Yeah.
So not super urgent if it's just a couple pounds like most are. And when it is, it's usually just simple as air pressure. Of course, cold weather's hard on everything. Those tire pressure sensors themselves, we have a tendency we see them start to go out a little more often in the winter, which that's something else there. They're right in the tire at the valve stem. We carry them in stock. That's something that's easier than most people think. Sometimes, they think it's this big, you got to tear into the car. It's
right.
just attached to your valve stem and you replace that, and normally that takes care of the issue if you have a sensor issue that's beyond just air pressure.
Now, do you offer, I'm assuming you offer balance, rotation, do you do alignments?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, doing alignments now. And that's a great topic. Alignments never hurts to get it done. You don't necessarily need it every time you get tires. Especially the best way to tell is to look at your old tires. Most people, they wear, most cars nowadays, they wear a little different than just smooth. They put a little camber in the cars to handle better, but they will wear an edge normally more than the others, and that's normal to an extent. But as long as you don't see anything crazy going on with the tire, and of course we check that for them, for the customers, and tell them if they're going to need one or not. But it's always good to get done because that affects. Obviously, you don't want to have to steer your car all around. You want it to you want it to be perfect, really.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the great thing about alignments is they really do help that. Now, another thing with alignments comes into suspension work. Once you get your new tires, maybe you did have a weird wear pattern on your tire. You take it up on the alignment rack and you go to shake it down, put the heads on, and you got a ball joint that's loose or a tie rod that's loose. Control arm bushing. That all plays into the wear of the tires as well, because you could have that really when you think the tire's straight, it's really moving down there because it's got that joint that's loose. So you need to replace that before the alignment. But the good thing is doing the alignment tells you everything else that could possibly be causing an issue. And if you're spending a couple $100 to $1,000 on tires, which depends on what you do, you will be. So you're going to want to take care of it for sure.
Do you handle ball joints and work like that?
Yep,
as well?
that suspension works great. I mean, I've got the alignment rack is also my mechanical bay, so that's where all that work gets done. We've got a full-time technician. He's been great for us. Very, very intelligent guy.
So basically, if it affects the tire,
yes.
Wheels as well?
Oh, yeah. Custom wheels we can get.
Yep.
Factory wheels, we usually go through our secondary suppliers, but we can still point you there in that right direction. But, yeah, we've got 2 major aftermarket wheel distributors. We've got some really neat stuff, even some cheaper. So you'd be surprised how cheap wheels are. I mean, a lot of people come in with, of course, over time, the factory coating gets peeled off, gets looking kind of funny. Or even when you crack a wheel and you might think, well, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars. You can get cheap wheels sometimes, $200, $100, even $100 in the hundreds, $180 for a nice new set of aftermarket wheels. So, yeah, we do just about everything there.
Don't know unless you ask.
That's right.
So any specials right now that we should know about?
So pretty much we always try and have the best prices, of course. No major running deals in the sense of a holiday, things like that, but we're always willing to price match. We're always willing to get the best price you can. That's what we've always been about. Even Danny, on the business card it says bargain tire, center, and it sounds like we only sell cheap tires, but it's just the deals are so good.
Get you a bargain. If you
that's
can.
right.
Sure.
That's right.
Everyone wants to save some money, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, we've been talking with Frank Fowler, Buchanan Trail Tire and Auto, Route 16 in Waynesboro. Happy holidays, my friend.
Of course.
And I bet you that I'll be in touch with you because my truck has the slowest leaking tire I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'll fill it up and then I only use it to go to the dump, right?
Right.
And then within a couple of weeks, you'll see it every day. I go home, just down a little further, a little further. So
it will.
I'm going to need to get that taken care of, so I'm going to stop by and see you guys, okay?
Sounds great.
I encourage you to do that as well. So let's talk Tri-State, all powered by WellSpan, winner of American Hospital Association's Quest for Quality Award, online, wellspan.org.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com. Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tri-State with Tiny and Katie.
Let's talk Tri-State.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tri-State, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors, the right choice, winner in the 2024 Best of the Tri-State. And back by popular demand, we have Randy Wilson, who is the owner of Real PD.
Got it.
And thanks for coming back.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
back.
well, I feel like we had more work to do the last time. We just kind of scratched the surface. But it's been a while since you've been here, Randy. So for anybody who is new to Let's Talk Tri-State, let's first talk about Real PD and what kind of services you offer.
Okay. So Real PD, reliable, efficient, ethical leadership, professional development. I'm a fisherman, so kind of real and keeping it real and all that together.
What a good way to hook people. You like that?
Tiny said you're good at puns.
Just fishing for a compliment here.
That's awesome. I have a lot of experience, a lot of continued training and education where I can pretty much help anybody with whatever they need. It sounds broad, but imagine you are a business owner and you want to grow your business. I can help you with that. Imagine if you are a leader in a business and you're struggling with getting your team to follow you and communicate. I can help you with that. If you are you're working on a team and you're having trouble picking up your pace, you're having trouble making decisions, I can help you with that. So it really depends on where you are and doesn't depend on where you are in an organization. I can help you with many different things. Or maybe you're a team who is having trouble collaborating and communicating. Team building, some teaching, some facilitated discussion. And I can help with that too. So.
And is your primary focus professional in your work life? Not so much personal life?
As opposed to unprofessional.
Or as opposed to, hey, I'm a mess. Can you help me out in just my personal life? But is your focus really to help people in their workplace?
I have a belief that if somebody comes to me and asks for help, I'll help.
Okay.
Right? So it could be outside of the business, outside of professional. I'll help them, right? Because I feel like they're coming to me for a reason. It's because not everybody's for me and I'm not for everybody. But if they come to me and they say, hey, I really could use your help. Okay, let's have some coffee and we'll just chat. And
just kind of have a one-on-one. Let me see where you are. Are we a good fit? Do I think I can help you? How do you find your clients?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. I do a lot of advertising. Not a lot comes from advertising, but it's word of mouth. Somebody knows somebody, or just in a conversation, it'll just generically happen. You know, like I was having coffee with a lady one time, and I didn't know, we were just having coffee, and she started telling me how she had 3 businesses. 2 businesses started off really well, and then they failed. And the 3rd business started off really well, and it's starting to fail. And just over coffee, I said, well, do you feel like you deserve to be successful? And I said, just pause before you...
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, before you answer that, think about right here. What's your answer feel like right here? And she said, no. I said, so if you don't feel like you deserve to be successful, then you won't be. And then we went back, we talked about where each business was successful and then it failed. What happened? And there was a pattern. And it all goes back to she doesn't feel like she deserved to be successful, so she was self-sabotaging without even realizing it. So it can be anything, you know. It can just be a spur of the moment thing. My wife and I, we coach each other all the time. It's it's an interesting thing. It's really about questions, you know, and you just being curious and asking questions. And you know, last time we were together, you mentioned life coaching, and do I do that? Yeah, absolutely.
I think it all goes hand in hand, too. If you're feeling good in your professional life and at work and you're advancing and in your career, that is going to definitely come into play with how you feel about yourself and how things are going for you personally as well. Where are your clients? Pennsylvania, Maryland, all over?
I have some overseas.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's interesting. They're also John Maxwell certified like I am, but they reach out to me. You know, Mauritius, Estonia, other places in Europe. Mostly in this geographical area, some in Arizona. New Mexico. So, yeah, pretty much wherever. I initially started focusing on here because that's where I knew people, but it's spread.
And tell me, what was the certification that you said?
It's John Maxwell. So John C. Maxwell, there are 54,000 members now on his team. And all around the world, I think it's every country in the world now, they're certified coaches, teachers, and speakers. And so you go through a process, 3-day conference, you come out, you're a certified teacher, speaker, and coach. And then there's ongoing training, but it's John Maxwell.
Is that how your programs, is that based off of the training that you received from that, or is this your own spin on it?
It's my own spin.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the different programs that you offer?
Yeah. I do a lot of team building.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what industry. There's a lot of industries, well, people are people, right? So it doesn't matter what industry. There's just going to be friction sometimes, and so team building. Hey, let's how do we have a tough conversation? How do we communicate better? How do we not take things personal? How do we not operate on assumptions? How do we get to the facts without being like overbearing? How do we do all these things? A lot of it goes back to the individuals within the teams. So how do you, what's an adjustment you're going to make, right? Go around the room. What's an adjustment? With the whole thought that you're better, the team will be better.
So how do you handle, let me kind of think of a scenario.
Yeah.
Let's say here at the radio station, luckily we all are a family, but we're a small business.
Yeah.
And we're very tight knit.
Yeah.
But luckily we all do get along. But let's say we didn't, and this place is falling apart, we're at each other's throats, and our general manager calls you and says, "Hey Randy, can you come in and have a session with my staff? We really need some help." And you come in, I'm assuming it would be like maybe a half day session or whatever you guys would work out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're going to be met with resistance.
Yes.
How do you handle that to get everybody on board that this is going to benefit you in the long run, even though you might be feeling like, oh, I don't want to do this?
If I know there's gonna be resistance up front, I want to work one-on-one first, right? I'll do a personality assessment. Let's see what your personality is, see what your tendencies are, talk one-on-one, and then work through some things individually. It's all confidential. What's going on? What's in your mind? What's going on? What's behind the conflict? Kind of work through some of that one-on-one, and then bring the team together, and then we have some more some broader training and some activities. And the activities are set up where you can't be successful unless you work together, right? It just doesn't work.
Like you fall back and you have to catch each other. That's what I think of when I think of team building.
I haven't done that one. I'm nervous about it.
Yeah, that might be good to reserve. But
hey, do you like that person? Okay, let's do this. So resistance, it's the one-on-one conversation where I can really find out what's going on. And with that, do you have a desire to work through it? If they say no, there's nothing I can do really to help the individual to get beyond whatever they're dealing with. But as soon as they say yes, I want to work on it, we're good.
do you find that certain professions that you work more with certain professions than another?
No, it's very broad.
Yeah.
The list is. Yeah,
we used to, when I was an educator for years, and I can imagine that maybe this education would be a particular area where team building is so important, because sometimes in different schools, you're really on your own. Some teachers really just like to be on their own, do their own thing. Some are very team driven. And so we always did team building exercises, and some people loved them and some people hated them. And we did so much of that in education, and also with the kids too. So I can, lead by example. But I was just curious if you find that.
I think that's where I would start off. That's why I would start off with a personality assessment, because like a DISC, I don't know if you're familiar. There's Myers-Briggs. There's different.
I'm familiar with the Enneagram numbers.
Enneagram, okay, there you go. Yeah, so DISC is like that but different, and really figure out what makes that individual tick and help them to realize that a lot of times people aren't aware. You know, they don't know why they operate a certain way. They don't know why people irritate them. Well, different personality. It doesn't mean that they have anything against you. It's just that's how they are and that's how you are. You know, like, for instance, in DISC, there's a personality that really loves to talk and be out front of people. There's
That would
another,
be me.
right?
That would be me.
And there's another one that's more reserved. When they're under stress, they want to be by themselves.
That's Tiny.
Imagine getting them together, right? Under stress. So the more stressed you are, the more you want to talk about it. The more stressed Tiny is, the more he wants to withdraw. So now you're like, let's talk. And he's like, let's do it. Right? So the friction. So understanding personalities is a big thing.
I read, and I don't know what book or what area you really believe in, but I will say the book that I read about the Enneagrams, it's called The Road Back to You, was one of the most powerful books I've ever read and the most enlightening. Because I find, for me personally, I'm extremely sensitive. I think everybody's mad at me, and I take everything personally, and I don't know, and I know it's not the case. I know that if somebody is short with me, it probably has nothing to do with me. They're having a bad day. But I really was having a hard time separating that. So I read this book, and it's 9 different personality types. And it was, as I read through each different personality type, I could see Tiny, or my best friend Bridget, or my mother. I could see these people, and I really felt like it helped me with my relationships with other people. And it also helped me to accept some people just I don't vibe with, and they don't vibe with me, and I can't make them like me. I just have to accept it and move on. But if you're not privy to that information, it's hard to then figure out how to work with some of your coworkers. And like you said, this person annoys me. I don't know why. It's just a personality conflict.
Even when you are aware of those things, sometimes it's still a work, right? I mean, you know that's their personality, and there's still days or times when they just irritate me, right? So it's still a practice, like every day, even when you are aware. So it's interesting.
Could we do a little? Could we do a like a little? I don't want to call it mock because I really want to do it, but let's say I call you, Randy, and I say, "Hey, I really want to enlist your services. I'm thinking about having you work with me. I'm really struggling, feeling confident." I mean, these are kind of accurate statements that I'm making. But if I said, I'm really having a hard time feeling confident in my role, and I'm having a hard time getting over the fact that I feel like my coworkers might not like me, or how would you initially work with me? Do you have a certain list of questions that you start with?
I don't have. It's nothing's preset.
Okay.
I would probably, the first question that comes to my mind is, can you think back into a time in your life when you were confident?
Yes.
Tell me that situation.
I would say when I was in high school, can I go that far back? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. When I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, and I was a very good cheerleader, and I knew it, and I loved it. I was very passionate about it, and I just remember being very well liked and feeling very confident every time I took the court or the field, wherever we were cheering.
So the key to that then is to be good at it, right? And people like you. So those are 2 keys, right? We can't always rely on people liking us, but we can control how good we do things. So what's something in your life that you would like to work on to gain more confidence in?
Maybe not. I would have to think on that. Something that maybe not needing external reinforcement.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So really, internally, that's where you feel it. Like, when you, like, if I ask you your name, what's your name?
Katie.
Yeah. Okay. If I ask you what's my middle name?
Edward.
That was a good guess, actually. It's not, but and you came up with it so fast. I wasn't expecting that. But there's a difference when you know something, answering something, and not knowing it, and then giving an answer. You just tell even in the facial expression. So the key would be, how can we help you to learn that as best as possible? And knowing, too, that even when you began cheerleading, were you good at it?
No, probably not.
So
Sure.
we have to remember that, too, that you weren't good initially, but you got better, and then you were good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the journey. So that's kind of the reminder, is we can't go from here to here in one day. It's part of the journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to go from here to here with whatever is in your life, not knowing, not relying on external affirmations, you want it to come from yourself. Perhaps there's a mantra that you could work with for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. What's something that sounds, when you tell yourself that, you feel good?
You know what I ask myself a lot is, what can I control? Can I control this?
There you go.
Really, can I? If
Yeah.
not, I have to just let it go. If I can, then do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's something that, not a mantra so much as just a question.
Yeah.
This is happening. This is causing me to feel discomfort or
Yeah.
anxious. Can I control this, or can I not control this?
So, no, you can't. You let it go. Yes, I can. Okay, I'm not where I want to be yet. What's one step I can take to get better at it?
Mm-hmm.
And because the reality is that it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
With almost anything. I mean, walking, talking, cooking, riding a bike, like so many things in our life. We couldn't get from there to here, but we could start. So let's talk about options. One option would be to have a mantra that you wake up, you tell yourself this, right? You have reminders all over the place to remind yourself. What's something else that might come to your mind that would help you in those moments when you're not feeling confident?
I think it's Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent."
Ooh, yeah.
One of my teachers in high school told me that because she saw that I was having this confidence issue, and she wrote it on, actually, when I was a cheerleader, we had a megaphone, and we all had to create our own megaphone.
Wow.
And the art teacher helped me with mine, and she was putting the finishing touches on it, and she wrote it on the inside. And I remember, this was 20-some years ago, and I remember not fully understanding what it meant because I was 16, 17 at the time, but I think about that quote a lot. Like, I'm not feeling confident. Well, I'm letting somebody make me feel that way. But it's really hard sometimes to think it and feel it.
It is, right. You're right. Now, what if you had that megaphone in front of you, or you recreated that megaphone with that in front of you? So you have a mantra, right? And you have that. Do you think that would help you
I don't
in those
know.
moments?
I have little notes around my house that, what can you control? You're doing a great job. That might be one that I add to my list.
I would recommend an exercise for you. Write down all the positive things you tell yourself. Write down all the negative things you tell yourself. And it can be a tough exercise for a lot of people. Typically, the negative stuff list is much longer. The truth is that we cannot outperform our own self-image. We cannot outperform what we tell ourselves. So when we realize that we're telling ourselves things that don't help us, we can start working on reframing it, rephrasing it. So getting that list in front of us, positive and negative, okay, let's keep the positive, obviously. Let's take something from the negative side and let's start working on that. And
just like one at a time until you can really, it is hard to rewire your brain, but it's powerful. It is. If you have, I'm sure that you have probably sparked someone's interest or have maybe inspired somebody. How do people get in touch with you if they wanted to enlist your services?
Probably the easiest way is Randy at realpd.com, REELPD.com. That's probably the easiest. I could give you a cell phone number. 717-414-6064. That's hard to remember, right?
Of course.
Randy, realpd.com.
Wonderful.
That would be the easiest. Yeah. One last thought. I had a lady that reached out to me quite a few years ago. She asked me if I would be her business coach. Didn't know her. But I had a sense about her. I didn't feel like she was serious. I said, there's a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There's a chapter on persistence. Very short chapter. But read it every day for 15 days. If you skip a day, you got to start over. And
What's the name of the book again?
Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
When you get to the 15 days, call me back because I know you are ready. I know that you're committed to me helping you. She never called me back, right? Because she couldn't read that chapter for 15 days. So if someone can't do that, then how are they going to do anything that's
stuff.
harder? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting test.
It is. I'm going to actually see if I can do it.
You can.
I'm a big reader as well, and I
Yeah.
do like a lot of I don't like to call them self-help, but I do like to read those books about rewiring your mind and how to get what you want and how to establish boundaries. I like those books. I think they're great, and I like you, Randy. I think you're
Thank you.
very wise, and hopefully you have somebody that is listening that's thinking, you know what, that's exactly what I need, and you'll be able to help them. And
my passion is to help.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I'm at in life. I can help in many ways.
that would be an Enneagram number 7, by the way.
There you go.
I am the same, a 7 and a 9.
There you
All
go.
right, next time we will do an evaluation on Tiny.
Ooh. Yeah, that'll be fun.
That would be so fun. All right, well, thanks a lot, Randy, and
you.
we'll be right back with Let's Talk Tri-State.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.